When you are released from prison, they give you paperwork, or released from jail. All sorts of different pieces of paper. And I'm going to bet it varies quite a bit from state to state. So I would assume that on release from prison, you have some sort of paperwork detailing what the terms of your release are, the bond conditions, not only how much you paid for it, but any prohibited actions while you're out on bond. If it was a criminal trespass, there's probably some documentation in there stating what exactly you are criminally trespassed from. And he'll probably say it with some degree of specificity. It may or it may not, but I'm just assuming based on what I know that they wouldn't just say, hey, you're trespassed from this building. They would say, hey, you're trespassed from the premises of this building. And if you don't understand it, you ask your lawyer what they mean by it. And then if you're going to go auditing someplace, you say to your lawyer, hey, lawyer, I'm going to pay you, I don't know, anywhere from a tenth of an hour to a quarter of an hour to look at my file, see exactly what I'm trespassed from, because I want to film this particular building, and I want to know how close I can get to it while still not trespassing. And then your lawyer says, that's probably not a smart plan, Mr. Client. You probably don't want to do that. But according to the terms of your bond, or according to the terms of your criminal trespass notice, you have to stay on the sidewalk. You can't enter their premises at all, including the curtilage, including any parks or decorations or lawns or plazas or anything like that that's on the address on that plot of land. You wouldn't end up with a situation like this.
People, my trespass from there? Can I go on there? Does anyone know?
If you're asking your live chat where you are entitled to go, considering the biased nature of most of these live chats and the relative lack of legal education, you may come to the wrong conclusion. You may end up with another trespass. And then if you go and try to audit a building and you are fried from years of hardcore drug abuse, and who knows what you started with in the first place, you may end up with further problems. Like, if someone is getting arrested, if Mr. Padilla is getting arrested, and you insert yourself into that situation, this tubby midget is attempting to arrest Mr. Padilla. If you insert yourself into that situation, you may be interfering with the duties of a public servant, or obstructing the duties of a public servant. That's not a good position to place yourself into. And then if you are arrested for that, for interfering with the duties of a public servant, please, this is legal advice, don't resist arrest. I've gone over in the past that in Texas, the current state of the law is that you may not resist arrest. If it's very technically, if they use unreasonable force on you before you start resisting, then you can use sufficient force to prevent them from using unreasonable force, technically. But before you jump on that, the technicality of the law is not going to save your bacon. You're going to go up in front of the jury. You have to prove that the officer was using unreasonable force before you started resisting. And I wish you the best of luck in that endeavor, but I can say that your odds are somewhere in the slim to none range of pulling that off. Especially if you have a long criminal record. And especially if you are a few standard deviations below normal IQ. So the state of the affairs are that Mr. Padilla was arrested again for criminal trespass. Same place. Now I know a lot of people are saying that, oh, we need to get this mass audit going out there. We need to all go do it. If you're all on the sidewalk and you're not trespassing, then there's nothing going to happen. Mr. Padilla entered their premises. Now, if Mr. Padilla had not been trespassed, like Mark, Mr. Brown, convinced the officers that he was able to stand outside on the walkway as long as he didn't block the doors and film. I think that was entirely reasonable. And if everybody gathered and showed up and they didn't actually go inside the courthouse and attempt to film inside the courthouse, I don't think anything particularly crazy would happen. Well, provided people remained relatively calm. So Mr. Padilla was trespassed because Mr. Padilla already had a criminal trespass warning about entering that premises. If you don't have a criminal trespass warning, you would not be trespassing standing where Mr. Padilla was standing. And then we've got Mr. Mark Brown, who got an interfering with the duties of a public servant and resisting arrest. Interfering with duties of a public servant and resisting arrest. Now, the fun thing about resisting arrest is you don't win anything. Mr. Brown got tased multiple times. You can hear him screaming through his video. I can't imagine that's a pleasant experience. But you may, if you wonder why Mr. Brown was tased and Mr. Padilla was not, I would put it to you that one may have been resisting arrest and the other may not have. Because it does not appear that they just randomly tase everyone. In fact, you could hear the officers in Mr. Brown's video. You can hear the officers tell him multiple times to stop resisting. And of course, he gives the standard, "I'm not resisting" answer. But I have never yet seen anyone say "I'm not resisting" who wasn't resisting. Resisting can be as simple as trying to tighten your muscles in your arms to prevent your arms from going behind your back. That's resisting arrest. It can even be just going limp. Believe it or not, going limp in California is resisting arrest. If you wet noodle it, bleh, and you just fall, collapse to the ground, and you don't get up when they tell you to get up and all that fun stuff, you're resisting arrest. Anyway, I've deterred long enough. So, as a prize for resisting arrest, not only did he get tased, but he got an additional tack-on charge. So, don't resist arrest, please. If it was just interfering or obstructing a public servant, for the grand crime of asking, for names and badge numbers, he did it at an inappropriate time and in an inappropriate way. Granted, do I think he deserved to be arrested over it? I don't. But do I think you could convince a jury, or if it's a judge, the judge, whoever's trying this? I think interfering with the duties of a public servant is a misdemeanor with a relatively short potential jail sentence. It's a B. So theoretically, a judge could be the trier of fact on it. But do I think you could convince a jury that he was interfering with the duties of a public servant? Yes, I do. That is a legal distinction. So try to wrap your mind around that before you say, "Oh, do I think he should have been arrested?" No. Do I think they could make the charge stick? Yes. As a fun note, I found this today. This is Mr. Padilla versus State of Texas. He had a carrying a weapon with criminal intent. Not carrying a weapon, carrying a tool with criminal intent. This is our good Mr. Padilla here. This harassment of a public servant. Mr. Padilla has a long and sordid history of. Here we go. He has a long and sordid history. So this is our good friend Mr. Padilla. This means pled no guilty. PNG is pled not guilty. JRY is jury verdict. But then there's this directed verdict not guilty. Huh. What does that mean? Well, that's what this is. He actually appealed this conviction to the Fourth Court of Appeals in San Antonio, Texas. He won. I don't know who his attorney was, but his attorney got him off on it. What happened was, it was kind of interesting. I'm gonna read the facts because, well, I can. Testimony at trial. All right, so this is the officer who made the arrest. He testified that on June 2nd, 2012, at approximately 4 a.m., he observed a vehicle driving into the parking lot of a Pittsburgh paint store. So it was 4 a.m. driving into the parking lot. That's 4 in the morning. Based on the time of day and the closed business, Officer King drove into the parking lot where he located a female sitting in the driver's seat of a Mazda truck that was backed into a parking space. When questioned, the driver, the female, claimed to be trying to locate a free dental clinic and that she was lost, trying to find a free dental clinic at 4 a.m. Things that make you go, Officer King noted the vehicle was running and the lights were off. After speaking to the driver, Officer King was surprised by a male individual, later identified as Padilla, coming out of the bushes behind the truck wearing a hoodie and black shorts. Padilla explained that he was urinating in the bushes. Officer King opined that he found it strange. A female failed to mention the other individual prior to him walking out of the bushes. I don't think that's strange. I wouldn't necessarily say that, oh yeah, by the way, my buddy's pissing in the bushes. He also described the positioning of the vehicle as odd because it was backed into an area that had utility poles and it looked like they were trying to hide. It's weird. I don't buy that for a minute, but whatever. When asked to better describe the vehicle, they probably were trying to hide, but they were probably trying to hide because Padilla had to take a squirt. When asked to better describe the vehicle's position, Officer King testified the vehicle was 5 to 10 feet from a transformer. And he pointed to several different events that raised his suspicions. First, the front license plate was missing from the vehicle, and the back license plate was placed in the rear window but was covered up with a manual. That's probably not a good thing. You want to avoid the appearance of being suspicious. You don't want to give the cops any reasons to pull you over. Second, the truck was backed into a parking space relatively close to the transformer box. Third, this is the part that I found hilarious. Although several officers looked in the area from which Padilla emerged, they were unable to substantiate Padilla's story that he had been urinating. They sent officers into the bushes trying to find Padilla's urine. Wrap your head around that. Imagine being that officer. Sniffing around, looking for signs of Padilla's urine. Oh my God. That's got to be the dumbest thing I ever heard of. Oh yeah. Anyway, the truck had a winch in the bed of the truck, and it was haphazard welding and whatever. So they thought the story the officers used is that they would use that winch to pull copper out of the tubing. And then on a completely unrelated note, we have this was sent to me. And the video wasn't particularly interesting, but this is particularly interesting. And I think it goes to the mindset of a lot of the things that I'm seeing going on. And I'm not ascribing this particular mindset to Bunny Boots or Jeff Gray or News Now Houston or some of the more reserved, the Batosai. I'm not ascribing this to them. I'm talking about this new breed of the police are everything that's wrong in this world. For your information, I, Chris Ponte, planned to retire from cop watching on my 37th birthday. I'm 36 now. But due to the retaliation by Mark Kruger sparking a months-long undercover investigation into my personal life after me and Robert West came asking questions about Mr. Kruger's shady history, I will not retire until the end of me. It's a personal choice. You have personal responsibility. You can make whatever choice you want. That is a promise. Your police captain ruined my life for simply wanting answers. Again, he's divorcing himself from any responsibility in this. It's amazing that so many millions of people live their whole lives without ever being arrested. I've never been arrested. I was young and dumb back in the day. I grew up rough, and I worked blue collar all the way till I was out of law school. Just straight up blue collar. I was rough, hard calloused hands. I mean, I can swear like a sailor. The whole reason why I'm a good troll is because I've got a thick skin from years of working with blue collar guys. And boy, if you showed them any of your trigger buttons, they would just push those buttons until you just lost it. So you learn to hide it. You learn to get a thick skin. Yeah, I know all about it. But, I've never been arrested because I took personal responsibility. I lost my job I loved. I don't think the police took that away from you. You had some actions in it. My home I worked hard for. Again, I don't think the police took that away. What did you do? Did you get arrested and get put in jail and lose your job because you couldn't be at work? Couldn't pay for your home because you lost your job because you were in jail and so you couldn't be at work? How did you lose your pet? Did the dog? I mean, if you say the police shot your dog, that's tragic. That's terrible. I hate it when that happens. I think the police are way too keen on shooting dogs. And I love dogs. I love dogs more than I love police. And unless that officer's actually been bit, I don't think they should shoot the dog. Tase them maybe, but don't shoot the damn dogs. You bastards. And now I'll do 12 months in federal custody for shooting tin cans in the woods with my coworkers. You broke the law. You broke the law. It's not anybody else's fault. You went out into the woods. You didn't check with the lawyer. You did this. The police didn't tear your life apart. You tore your life apart. I was finally clean and sober for 2.5 years, had a 401k, and was simply put out from cop watching for 8 years, ready to put down my activism life and start actively living my own life. Well, you could still do that once you get out of prison. Take personal responsibility. Your corrupt police bureau has caused me to watch you forever now. No, you choose to watch them. It is your choice. Anyway, I could bang on about this forever. Never forget the fact that you choose your destiny. If you choose to break the law, it's on you. If you choose to not get competent legal advice and you get screwed in prison, that's on you. You make your choices. You live with them. It's nobody's fault but yours. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.